This Sunday we'll conclude our study of Jonah together. This will be our third week in the book of Jonah in worship. We've talked about the experience of running away from God and also about God's power to reach us, to grab us, to claim us, to convert us, even at our lowest moments, even when we find ourselves as far away from God as we can possibly be. Last week, we looked at the process of salvation in the book of Jonah. Salvation can be messy and difficult, painful even. It doesn't have to be that way in all of our experiences, but it certainly can be, and it for sure was for Jonah. What salvation should be for all of us, though, is completely transforming as we realize that we are connected to and now part of something more powerful, more purposeful, more meaningful than anything we've ever known before. Part of salvation is realizing that we are part of a much bigger picture, an important piece, each of us, in God's greater plan for the world. This week we'll talk about grace. Once Jonah began to live inside God's purpose for his life, he was surprised by the wideness of God's mercy and the extent of God's grace, even to lots and lots of people to whom God had promised punishment and vengeance. It's easy to accept God's grace in our own lives. Very often we don't even recognize it as grace. One of the easiest things in the entire world to be blind to is to all the ways that God's grace has shaped our own lives. So when we see God's grace acting in the lives of others, we can be surprised by it, even put off by it. Our first reaction might even be to say, that's not fair. As we look toward Thanksgiving and recognize Christ the King Sunday in worship this week, we want to do two things. We want to become fully aware of the ways that God's grace has shaped our lives. And we want to develop hearts that are grateful for the ways God's grace is acting in the lives of others. I can't think of a better way to prepare ourselves for Thanksgiving week, so I hope you'll join us. We worship this Sunday at 8:45 or 10:55 or anytime online. I can't wait to see you then.